Great guest in studio today. We're talking about the impact that the 2018 Mason County budget had on the citizens in the county. And here with us today we have the auditor. It's Karen Herr. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
First things first, I know we're going to get to some of the impacts in the budget, but exciting times in the city of Shelton. We're less than a month away from the primary election for this historic council vote.
It is. It's very exciting. There's a lot of excitement out there about that.
Some 14, 15 folks put their hats in the running. I think just a few of them have any political, even just running in the past experience. So a lot of newbies out there. That's got to be good, and good for you to see the engagement in the civics.
Absolutely. There is a lot of interest in it. It was great to see that people jumped into this race that had no prior experience just because they wanted to make a difference. They wanted, they live in the city. They wanted to, offer their input and get involved. And I think that's just great.
I love when that happens.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I understand you're fielding calls wondering about a possible county version of this.
This really brought some interest. Quite a few phone calls we've gotten on people that saw, how the city passed this for the new government, thinking perhaps that would be a good thing to do in the county. It's basically the same process. I think that they could change their government to a council, either 5 or 7 members. It's an initiative process. It's gathering the signatures, putting it on the ballot, pursuing that. So it has certainly increased interest in that area.
If somebody were to do this following kind of the same model that the Shelton City did, it's 10% of the amount of voters from
every initiative is different, and I do believe it is the same. It would be 10% of the voters.
Okay.
That's good. So that would be the entire county.
Yeah.
So it would take a while, but it's doable.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. That would be very very exciting.
And there are not many counties in the state that are like this, right?
Charter
counties?
Charter counties. There's either 7, and I think Clark County just this last year, so I think there are 8 different counties that are have charter members, council members, instead of 3 commissioners.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, let's talk about some of the impacts to the auditor's office and the various things that you do for the citizenry of Mason County on the heels of this budget here. Has it impacted your hours of operation at all, or have you been able to figure things out with that? Things like that?
Yes, absolutely. Because we the budget cuts to our office was pretty severe, pretty brutal. We lost a full-time position in licensing and recording. We lost a half-time position in financial services. We lost another entry-level position that we had created doing a reorganization of our office in hopes of saving an employee. That eventually was lost. On top of that, our operational funding. The funding we need for day-to-day operations in our office has been reduced to critical levels. So it's obvious, we have to do business, differently. We cannot continue business as usual. So the first thing we decided to do was we reduced the hours to the public 9 to 4.
Okay.
That is for the entire second floor. That will include the treasurer's office and the assessor's office. We had considered, again, closing during the lunch hour, but the negative impact to the citizens was just too great. So all of our employees offered to take half-hour lunches so that we would have coverage during the lunch hour. And 9 to 4 is not such a huge impact. There's a lot of, it's going to be a challenge. Every one of our, I can give you kind of an example of each of the departments, a challenge that we see in there and how it's going to impact the citizens that come in to do business. In recording and licensing, we have a lot of foot traffic, and the lines are already becoming longer. And it's winter, and the snowbirds aren't even back. But when the backlog work, the background workload is also starting to pile up, because when a customer leaves our office, there's still a lot to do with that transaction. Like in recording, someone records a document. all the information, parcel number and legal description and buyer and grantor and addresses all have to be manually entered into a computer so it can be accessed and that it can be mailed back to the person that's brought it in. We're usually about a week behind. I just checked on Friday. We're already over a month behind on that, and that is a dreadful inconvenience to the people waiting for that paperwork.
What is on the paperwork that they're waiting?
It is their deed. It's the deed to their house.
wow.
It is their power of attorney. It is very important information. And that backlog, there's a lot of, we do hundreds a day.
Yeah.
We record, and many times we have one person in recording now. So that you have to record on demand, but that backlog to enter that information is going to pile up. And that just is a snowball effect.
There's fees to these. Is there can somebody pay extra to have it expedited?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we, no.
No, don't have that
No,
available.
we do not.
Okay.
We don't have the staffing. We take the money, but we don't have the staffing.
Sure. So once somebody goes through and they are talking with the person there behind the desk and it gets stamped or whatever, the receipt gets, there's a whole nother
Layer
of stuff that
of work.
people
And
don't
that's in
see.
every department, in every one of our departments. It's like if there's not a customer standing at our counter, that does not mean we're out of work.
Right.
In elections, we only have 2 employees, and we lost most of our extra help staffing. These are employees that have been with us for years, that come during the election time for 3 weeks. They're trained, they're experienced, they help us verify signatures, they process ballots, they pick up all the ballots out of the ballot boxes. We have 8 of them now, very time consuming. Without them, the election results are definitely going to be slowed. We pride ourselves on counting on election night every ballot that we have been brought into our office. We take the extra time to be able to count as many as we can. That is no longer going to be the case. Also in elections, we had to postpone our much needed new voting system. We knew this day was coming. We have an old system. We have been saving. We have a reserve set aside. We thought this year was going to be the year. We had already gotten a couple quotes from the 2 top vendors in Washington State. Unfortunately, because of our budget cuts, we had to dip into these reserves to be able to purchase election, supplies for the upcoming elections. So it's been postponed. In the meantime, our ballot on demand printer blew up. So we had no choice but to purchase a new one that can't be used with the new system.
Sure.
And because we can't continue conducting elections without it. And that's going to continue. And that is a position makes me very uncomfortable to be in, especially when it's in regards to elections.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Wow.
Financial services.
Yeah.
The half-time position in financial services audited and processed all of the vouchers from 22 different local jurisdictions. All the fire districts, the hospital, the cemetery, the ports, the water districts. We've had to reduce this weekly service to about twice a month. So they are scrambling. They've had to change their meeting times, et cetera, to accommodate our new schedule. And as far as the vouchers that are submitted by the other departments within Mason County for payroll and AP, same thing. Reduced service. We've tightened in the timelines. That is an extra burden to all these other departments that have also lost staffing. It's a snowball's effect.
Wow.
So all the budget cuts, no one is winning with these budget cuts. Not the citizens, not the employees, not the elected officials managing these departments. But we will do the best we can with what we've been given.
Are there any options you guys are floating around? Maybe I've heard maybe that you could close all of the licensing portion and move that to a private contractor or however that works with some other businesses. Or
that is a very good question. I get asked that a lot. It was something I considered. Out of the 4 departments I'm responsible for, recording in elections and financial services are mandated services. Licensing is not. It is not a mandated service. All auditors, including myself, have a contract with the state to provide these licensing services in Mason County, in our county.
Yeah.
And many auditors, including myself, have been contracted with private businesses to also provide those services. We have 2 in Mason County.
Yeah.
We are solely responsible for supporting those subagents from our county. The state's business model is if we do not conduct, if we do not have a licensing department in Mason County, in our office, then the subagents cannot exist.
Oh, okay.
So I considered that option because I was really up against the wall on how I was going to stretch 11 employees over these 4 departments, especially 3 mandated. But when I can, the consequences also was just too severe. It would have meant severing and terminating my contract with the state. In turn, I would have to sever the contract I have with 2 subagents and close 2 businesses. All people that live in Mason County would have to go to neighboring counties to get their tabs and when they purchase their car. And we do bring in revenue for the county. Subagents do, and our licensing. That would be lost.
Wow.
So we decided to try to, even though we're going to be very thin in licensing, to continue those services with what we've been given.
So the hours of operation there are 9 to 4.
9 to 4.
And then behind that, of course, if you are asking or seeking any other additional help with your deeds or titles and things like that, after you've completed that transaction, it could still be a month wait list on some of these things.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we're already up to.
And it could get worse than that. So
Our whole our method to our madness for the 9 to 4 was between the employees arrive at 8, between 8 and 9, when there's no customers in front of it, we will try to do the backlog work, and that was to be able to keep afloat on that.
all right. Well, Mason County Auditor Karen Herr, come back when we get closer to this council election.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you have any other things to pass along to the citizens, you know where we are.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Thank
You too.